No, we did not hide last week because we were scared of Rangers takes, by the way.
A lot of people have messaged me, DM'd me saying I expect the next video or whatever to be an apology to the Rangers for calling them frauds. I would like to apologize for absolutely nothing.
I'm going to say this off the top before everyone gets grilling into these two punks because we've been Rangers guys.
Oh, yeah.
You can go and check the receipts. I picked them to make the Eastern Conference Finals in our prediction.
Oh, give me a second. I'm gonna have receipts right now. There was 3 lists put up in the last video that went up, and 3 people had the Rangers ranked 8th.
I didn't have a list.
Look. Full disclosure. I thought the Rangers. I didn't think they'd make it this far, but I'm just like,
okay. That's all I'm saying.
I definitely had, but I'm not like
you had more faith in them.
Yeah, I have more faith in them, and honestly, fellas, you know what? Every time you guys criticize the Rangers and call them frauds, I usually try to defend them, but fellas, keep it coming, because the more you guys call them frauds, the more they just keep winning.
Oh yeah,
so
they use us as motivation.
Before this turns into an all-out brawl, we're going to be taking a look at the teams that maybe we didn't give enough credit to. Teams that maybe, upon a further glance at them, they were better than we first gave them credit for. This is a time to either repent. To be honest, though, you can also keep your take, because it doesn't mean you have to say you like the Rangers just because they've made it this far. Do you have a team that you wish you had given a bit more respect? I'm going to start with Corwin so you can just get this off your chest.
I will apologize to Rangers fans. I was wrong. I like the Rangers players and I wanted them to be better. I just don't think they're that good. You got further than I thought you would. I'd still take Carolina in 5. I'll reiterate, I don't necessarily think I was wrong about my analysis of the team, because we've said pretty much the same thing the whole time, that they have a very good power play and a good goalie, and that could take them far. I would say I would have bet against it, which is why I'm saying I was wrong. Yes. For sure, I was wrong. I'll eat my words there.
Real quick, just because so we can hear it from the back. You're wrong, you said?
I already said that, but...
One more. Mike didn't pick it up.
No, I already said.
Thanks. Corwin's apologizing for me, too.
But I will say, probably the one thing I was most wrong about, even though... Because I'm getting tweeted at constantly of people are they still frauds? Are they still frauds? Look at how many goals Mika Zibanejad has. And then my only thing to that is, I get it. I'm not saying Mika Zibanejad's not a top-line center in the league. I'm saying I don't think there's anybody that takes Mika Zibanejad in the top 10 centers in the league. They're a really fun team, and I feel like I have said that all along, gets lost in the criticism, but... I was wrong. I was wrong.
You tell yourself that, buddy.
Yeah.
You tell yourself that.
I want them to beat Tampa, too, because I think Colorado would have an easier time with them over Tampa.
I mean no, I won't say it.
No, go ahead. Honestly, we agree. Come on, we provide shovels here. Keep digging.
Smaller shovel, smaller hole.
Colorado will have an easier time against the Rangers.
Yeah,
for sure.
if you're picking a team you want to face in the Stanley Cup Final, it's the Rangers, of course.
All right, Luca, you were probably the second largest Rangers hater of the bunch. Is there a team that's surprised you in a positive way? One that, again, you thought they weren't going to do well and they've overperformed your expectations?
I guess Edmonton, because I didn't have a lot of faith in them making it this far. I think when you looked at them coming in, and we did our BarDown bracket thing, the only upset I picked in the first round was the Kings winning that series. Just because, I don't know, this team is not built as far as what you want in a playoff team. God bless his heart, Duncan Keith, but he's playing major minutes for this team at an age that is I don't know, we're not turning back the clock here. You cannot rely on Duncan Keith as a top 4 option right now and make it all the way to the Stanley Cup in my mind. And
my problem wouldn't even be necessarily with him. It'd be
it's not
relying
him
so much on
necessarily.
Tyson Barrie
and Darnell Nurse, who's getting $9 million, who
he is playing hurt too.
Tore my hip flexor, so just dealt with that for 3 series.
He is playing
9.5
for sure, but
he's making more than Makar and Hedman.
Exactly, and I'm not saying don't pay Darnell Nurse, but I'm saying if you're gonna pay a guy that much money, you expect a little more from him. But they did get here, which was surprising in itself. And Connor McDavid has taken his game to an unbelievable level, and their depth pieces are playing great too.
It's absolutely something to build for, and I'm sure every Leafs fan, they would have taken a run like that.
For
sure. Even if you got washed in the conference final, it's progress. I'm sure that you don't have to have one of those locker room clean out interviews where you don't even make the playoffs or get swept in the first round.
This is the question, though. Is it false progress in a sense that Edmonton fans are going to come away from this series
Thinking they're closer than
Thinking
they are?
they're closer than they actually are.
I don't.
I feel like maybe they've gotten the best gift because
Yeah.
it's like, if anything, they got the great series win over Calgary, which was a lot of fun.
Huge.
City was absolutely buzzing. And then now they got a little bit of a wake-up call. Like, you're not quite there yet.
further.
Because I do think this series says
Yeah.
more about Colorado than it says about Edmonton.
I've been quiet, but now it's time for me to pipe up. Oilers fans, don't hate on me too hard. I just think that considering you have two of the top players, one of which they're both on really reasonable deals, if we're being honest with you. Like McDavid, the fact that they locked him up at $12.5 a year for 8 years, and then you have Draisaitl who's getting paid $8.5 million a year.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that they have not done a better job building around that team should have won championships already. Get a goddamn goalie who's going to take you to the promised land. Get some better defensemen. Start building around this team more. I absolutely agree with Luca when he says it's a wake-up call. And to a degree, like, you're close, but you're not there yet. It's like they're just getting worked. And I think if Calgary had been playing like they were in the regular season and they won that series against Edmonton, we'd be seeing a much better Western Conference final, which Colorado would probably still win. As far as teams that I need to give more credit to, not to say that anyone was doubting them, but the St. Louis Blues probably are going to end up putting up potentially the best fight against Colorado all series and almost force that one to 7 games. I think they deserve a little respect. But honestly,
Not for me.
as much as it hurts my soul, I gotta give some props to the Leafs because they put up a great fight against Tampa.
Took a weird turn.
Guy went back all the way to round one.
No, well, yeah, of course, because I think if they beat Tampa, there's a good chance that they're marching their way to the finals, unless they run into I don't know.
The Rangers.
The Rangers, and the Rangers who have an extremely hot goalie and have some guys who are stepping up right now, but. I gotta give the Leafs some props, and I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen with that team in the offseason because, everyone's saying run it back, and Matthews has got 2 years left on his deal. Do you think about maybe giving Matthews the C? I know it sounds kind of cliche, but you got to lure that guy to stay. And if the team goes next year, they run it back, they don't win, they lose in the first round again. Where the hell do you go from there?
And the one thing I would say that's really interesting about that to me is that they don't really run it back. That's just not really what they've done generally. I know it feels like they don't do a ton because they don't move those core guys.
Small moves, though.
But the bottom six,
margins.
they're always think about adding Bunting and adding
Mrazek even.
Such a different
But
bottom six.
But bottom
between year and
sixes
year.
are often rotating with teams. I think when you talk about running it back, you mean you're bringing back your main core, and that's something that the Leafs have been doing.
I know. All I mean is that I still think they'll do a lot of moving.
Adding from within is a thing too. If Sandin and Liljegren play bigger roles, and if Robertson finally comes up and cracks the top six and plays
and
that
if they move on, the thing that seems to make the most sense to me is that they move on Muzzin and Mrazek, and it's I feel like that's a move. I don't think that's fully running it back.
What are your thoughts now on the Hurricanes losing to the Rangers? And yes, they ran into a hot goalie, but how do you think they should be looking at next year?
They're the Eastern Flames. They blew it. This felt like the Hurricanes' really best time to really make a strike there, and I don't know. Yeah, I think you got to find a way to beat Shesterkin.
You're not giving them an out, by the way, with just goalie injuries? I mean, I guess
I think
every
that's
team...
part of it, though. Losing Freddie Anderson was huge for them. But I think one of the things we talked about with the Hurricanes, too, during the season, or at least one of the things I think of them is just a game-breaking star player.
Exactly.
They really lack that. Zibanejad and Panarin, I feel like Aho is maybe in the Zibanejad conversation for me, but as far as a game-breaking goal scorer, he doesn't seem like that. They have a ton of great forwards.
Svechnikov too,
Yeah.
but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, it keeps feeling like Svechnikov is about to be there, but he
he's
never
just
makes
not.
the jump.
Yeah, it's a really weird. Again, don't get me wrong. I'd love all of those forwards on my team. They have a great depth, a plethora of defensive options too that you just like. But
Pesci, Slavin,
it's just not clicking. I don't know. Maybe they do need to go out and sign or try and trade for a guy that's a little more offensive.
But it's funny.
How about, can you imagine if they traded for Laine? to play with Teravainen.
I can tell you have been imagining.
To play with Teravainen and Aho? No, I hope he stays in Columbus, though.
moves him.
Because I love the Blue Jackets. They're my second squad.
All right, well, let's move on to Don't Think, Just Tweet. A goalie can certainly... We keep saying how much a goalie can change a series, and yet it brings us to our first Twitter prompt, which I will give to Corwin. Should goalies win MVP more?
No, they're pretty much all the same. Pretty much, because obviously there's some outliers.
There will be no redemption arc for
Shesterkin is the outlier in this one. No, but I just mean it's like the biggest thing is that they have to stand out beyond other goalies. Obviously, goalie is the most valuable position in hockey.
Doesn't every player that wins MVP have to stand out from other players?
Yeah, for sure, but I think that happens more often, is what I'm saying.
Does it though? With a goalie? Like, goalies stand out.
I think this year, Shesterkin, yes. But I think in general, it doesn't happen that often.
Luca, is Kadri the Leaf that got away? This is based off of Chris Johnston's tweet, who had mentioned this earlier in the week.
No. Because they had too much talent up front and made the decision to sign John Tavares. I think that was the whole thing, right? Is why they traded him, is because he was playing a third line role at that point. He was a third line center behind Matthews, behind JT. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think the role he was playing, he would have thrived as much as we're seeing him thrive now if he would have stayed in Toronto.
This guy's got some thoughts.
Tweet. Luca's wrong.
Oh, okay.
He's definitely the guy that got away. I understand. I agree that at the time, because I remember both Luke and I were kind of like, we were both upset about it almost. Where like when it happened, you were like, I'm losing Barry and Kerfoot, and I was like, I'm losing Kadri. And
Barry wasn't so mad about it.
I remember that day. I remember being in the office that day, and I remember Luca's reaction to getting Kadri. It was like a bittersweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pumped for Kadri because they were looking for a second line center. That's the one thing the Avs have just always needed.
Yeah.
But I would say what it ended up being is an absolute win for the Avs, and I think that means it's the player that got away.
Jesse, this one's for you. This comes off the comments from NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. He was suggesting that the NBA, they're not in love with the 82-game regular season.
I'm not against potentially changing the format of the season, even possibly shortening it a bit, if we can demonstrate that that's going to have a direct impact on injuries.
Should the NHL also think at the idea of reducing the amount of regular season games?
No, because I love stats, and I don't want to see people not reach certain milestones because the seasons are shorter.
It's the toughest part.
Just play the 82 games. In fact, maybe even make it 100.
That doesn't make sense. Now you change. No.
I'm kidding.
That definitely is the key difference, though, because like NBA is all averages, obviously, and
exactly.
The counting stats don't matter as much as just what you've averaged.
Yeah, like nobody
the total
cares.
Points, no one cares.
Yeah,
well,
no one's like who scored the most points in the NBA this season. Who gives a crap?
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna do in the NHL. Like, this player averaged the most goals per year. Like, it's kind of shies.
There are benefits to doing it.
Yeah,
the
sure.
benefits. Like, who likes watching hockey past the All-Star break up until like the last 10 games of the season from there? And honestly, even then.
Unless your team that you cheer for is in a playoff race, nobody.
Yeah.
They're obviously never going to reduce it because of money.
Yeah. You need all those games. You need all that TV money. Okay.
But the NBA is doing the same thing, so.
The NBA is in a much different
more
position.
Yeah.
And I don't think,
It makes so much money.
But at the same time, the NHL should be more worried about how to make their sport popular than the NBA is.
You can straight up, keep 82 games. Just go back to 1 through 8 for the playoffs. That's all I care. That's also what ruined your regular season. Last Twitter prompt for Corwin. Who is signing Evander Kane in the offseason, and how much is he going to get?
I guess the Oilers?
You think he returns? And is that your tweet? I guess the Oilers. Not compelling.
Yeah, kind of. Because honestly, because that kind of like indifference is, I think, how the whole league will feel.
Can they afford him?
Well, let me finish my tweet then, because I think they sign him, and I think they sign him for $4 million or less, and I think it's because he just had a massive contract that worked out so horribly that I don't think anybody's going to offer him anything like that again.
He's going to get the Kyrie deal.
He was good statistically. He's been a good.
Go ahead. Why don't you reply tweet then? Go ahead.
He just did, but. So
this guy decided for him. But I mean, give some numbers.
I mean, part of the production thing right now though has to be playing with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I mean, at 30 years old, I wouldn't feel good about giving him like anything more than a 4-year deal.
At how much?
That's fine.
And probably 4, maybe 4.5 at the most.
At the most. Andrew Kopp is going to be making way more than $4.5 million, and Evander Kane is a much better offensive producer.
I mean,
and he's not that much older than him either.
There's also a part of this conversation that it's not just about production; it's about him as a person as well.
100%.
There's a reason why not a lot of
100%.
people wanted to sign him in the first place. That's going to drive down the price that he's going to make regardless.
Yes, that is definitely valid. I think that there's some it's going to. I feel as though things are still going to kind of get unraveled with what's going on with Kane over the offseason. I don't know. Like, just based off of his play, he's definitely earning more than $4.5 million.
The main reason I'm saying I think Oilers and for a deal is because I think he kind of likes it there now.
Yeah.
I think he's happy. He looks happier
fair.
than he's been in a long time playing hockey, and I think maybe in his mind he's kind of like, let's just worry about that.
It's very ironic, series for him because I think people were very into him and then he takes that suspension and I don't know. It seems like an unfortunately fitting kind of closure to his playoff.
That's a funny tweet where I can't remember who it was. Somebody said harsh punishment to suspend him for the rest of the series.
Okay, well, that brings us to our next and second last segment here, which is our weird internet find of the week, which comes in the form of the new record holder for most expensive jersey of all time. It used to be Paul Henderson's Summit Series jersey, but Wayne Gretzky's, they've taken it. He's taking the record for $1.45 million. It's a Nike one, by the way, too. Look at that thing.
That's pretty sick.
Like this guy needed another record.
Yeah, honestly.
Selfish.
Who could you see usurping that throne and what jersey?
If Ovi
I was
breaks
gonna say.
Gretzky's goal record, then Ovi. Yeah.
The only thing is that Ovi, he's like a collector, and he might not he might keep his. He's like starting his own museum for himself.
Or they'll stick it in the Hall of Fame.
Patrick Stefan's jersey from that incredible myth.
Honestly,
I would actually pick
I
It's a
feel
sick
like
jersey,
I feel
too.
like it'd have to be like a blunder of that epic proportion to just be like the complete opposite
Or
way.
for Rangers fans, Malik's Liberty Head jersey
Yeah.
from that.
I think so.
Not actually.
I did consider coming into today's podcast in a Rangers jersey. And
You
then-
own a Rangers jersey.
Do I?
I don't know. I
know.
was asking.
You were saying you consider coming in with one.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was gonna buy one.
Oh, you're gonna buy one.
I was gonna buy one. I was gonna buy like a hat, foam finger, all that, and then I was just gonna give it away to a Rangers fan. And then they got pumped, and I was like, nah.
You're gonna get pumped. There's also 30 seconds left.
Yeah,
Like,
that
what?
would be pumped. I mean, I know you're looking at the shots.
Okay.
Not pumped. That's not pumped. You
They
can't
didn't
say
get
that.
pumped.
Did you watch that game?
Yeah, but that's not pumped. The score line.
Did you look at the
factors
scoreboard?
in, yes,
No,
the
but-
scoreboard factors getting pumped.
If a team
I don't
finishes
think you
with
get-
10 shots on goal in a game
And it's
they
1-0?
lose
They didn't. They
1-0 and they
finished
give
with-
up 70 shots,
That's
They
not
finished
pumped.
with 30 shots.
that's getting pumped.
But that's also not what happened.
I
And
mean,
still,
it may as well.
Still, to me, that's not pumped. That's
It
not
may
even
as
what
well
happened.
have been.
They could have won that game. Anyways.
Yeah, the one nothing team that gets 10 shots can
If
win that game too.
If you're like close enough to winning, then you didn't get pumped. That's it.
I
That's it.
disagree
Doesn't
with
matter
that.
the shots.
I think it's more on
Shots don't go
performance
in.
than on scoreboard.
Okay, this brings us to the final segment, and that's just our loser point. Luca, you can start us off.
All right, my loser point is I would take Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon over Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl if I'm starting a team from scratch. It's the easiest decision I could ever make as a hockey GM.
Corwin, your loser point.
I'm rooting for you, Rangers fans.
Jesse, you're up.
If the Jets don't hire Barry Trotz, I'm gonna cry. I'll actually shed tears. There are so many good coaches that are about to hit the market. It's gonna be an interesting offseason.
And my loser point, we're that close without mentioning the Jets for one pod. Thanks.